We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot on my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking no L's, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team, we holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change, yeah. Tell them that's like, yeah, it's love it. I'm taking a shot for my enemies. I can't waste no more time on my energy. I know they know I got it on lock. Go against me, that's a long shot. Cause I'm counting wins all around the clock. Never doubt me, boy, I don't stop. Who do you feel when they make you the monster? I am not scared of none of you imposters. Taking the lead now while they watching. Think you should leave now while the option. Taking no L's, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down, no.
Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast, powered by Mellow Seltzer. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight our Cleveland Cavaliers took on the Washington Wizards for the fourth and final time this season. And this was another opportunity for a season sweep of a team. And the Cavaliers didn't take that lightly, right? They usually haven't. After all, they've already registered 5 of these on this season prior to tonight. Crazy to think that they've already swept the Pelicans, the Nuggets, the Mavericks, the Warriors, the Lakers, and you can make it 6 after the sweep of the Washington Wizards tonight. And the Cavaliers managed a clean sweep. And this is a team that in recent days has shuffled the deck and leaned further into the rebuild. Gone are Jonas Valanciunas and Kyle Kuzma, and in are the likes of Chris Middleton, Marcus Smart, Reggie Jackson, Didi Sissoko, and A.J. Johnson. And honestly, that was the right direction to lean on for them. They secured a decent amount of short-term talent, some roster filler, and above all else, they got more draft capital to help refuel their rebuild. That usually makes for a fairly winnable situation for the Cavaliers, but one that should always make you wary of falling victim to the trap game, something that we always worry about in situations like this. And facing a 9-win Washington Wizard team, that very well could have happened tonight. Thankfully, it did not. The Cavaliers, fresh off a big deadline day themselves, were more than up to the task. And while we await the emergence of DeAndre Hunter, somebody we're waiting to make his season debut with the Cavaliers, something they will likely be on hold from until at least Monday's outing against the T-Wolves, the Cavs still had the upper hand in talent, despite the outgoing Karis LeVert and George Niang. Still, it's not as if Washington was just going to lay down and die. They absolutely scratched and clawed and fought in this one. So respect to them for that. And in saying that, they still got some really good pieces over there. Some young talent. Bilal Coulibaly, Buck Carrington, and Keyshawn George. There was no Alex Sarr tonight who missed. But Coulibaly and Carrington and George were more than up to the challenge of facing off against this absolutely astounding Cavaliers team. They combined to score 13 of Washington's first 15 points and were active on the defensive end, leading to a good amount of forced turnovers in the early going. Hell, Washington forced, I think it was 6 turnovers in the first 5 minutes, which led to 7 points off of turnovers for Washington. So that was really frustrating to watch at times. And I was really hoping that would not be a continuing theme. But man, oh man, it felt that the Cavaliers were just were turning the ball over a little bit too frequently, a little bit more than I would have liked in the early going. And something that I was very, very impressed with them was just the young weapons that they have over there, right? Now, from a efficiency standpoint, from purely an efficiency standpoint, percentages, this young trio that they have in Coulibaly, Carrington, and George, they're really not efficient at all. Coulibaly started off the season very, very hot, but they're doing some things over there. You see Coulibaly, 12.5 points, 5 boards, 3.5 assists. 42.4% from the field. Carrington with 8.5 points, 3.9 rebounds, 3.9 assists, 39.2% from the field. And George at 7.8, shooting 35.6% from the field. Not necessarily efficient, but they're doing some things. And George himself, he had himself a pretty good game. They should really, really be proud of the effort that they gave tonight. George would finish tonight with 17 points. He shot 6 of 11 from the field, including 4 of 6 from three-point range. And Koulibaly, he would finish with 16. And a dozen of those came in the first half, I think. It was frustrating to watch at times. The defense was not necessarily up to par. It's not necessarily up to the standard that we normally see it. And I couldn't help but wonder if the Cavaliers are still trying to fight through the slog of what occurred yesterday at the deadline and getting rid of Karis LeVert and George Niang. And I kind of wonder, playing a road game, if that from a mental standpoint just kind of, maybe they weren't in it all the way tonight, but luckily, they were able to bring this one home behind major efforts from a number of Cavaliers, starting with Donovan Mitchell, who would score 22 points in the first half alone. He drilled 3 triples, made it look like clockwork. It did feel like he was alone in performing tonight at times in the first half, but you saw multiple pushes in the second half from a number of Cavaliers. We got Emoni Bates minutes early. He entered at the 7:05 mark in the second. He didn't really contribute, though. And fun fact, Emoni Bates has actually failed to score a single point through, I think, 5 or 6 appearances so far. So he hasn't scored yet. Hate to see that happen, but it is what it is. The defense was definitely an issue at times tonight as Cleveland allowed Washington to shoot 54% in the first half, including 45.5% from three-point range. They would drill 10 of 22 from three-point distance. And believe it or not, this Washington Wizards team, this was actually their 9th game of the season with at least 10 made threes in a first half. And for context, the Cavs have 15 of those themselves. And it's not as if they shoot the ball well overall. It's really not. They are 29th in the NBA in terms of three-point percentage on the season. That said, they've been much better as of late in that regard, because over their 3-game win streak that they entered with tonight, they had actually been the 4th most efficient team in the league at that shot, knocking down shots at 40.9% clip. They were also 3rd in total makes from range during that stretch. They're also pretty damn good on the glass. They managed to out-rebound Cleveland 29-21 overall in the first half and won 10-5 on the offensive glass, leading to 14 second-chance points in that first half. And the second half was a lot different, obviously, but it was not – this was never supposed to be the type of game that felt like the Wizards should have had an opportunity to come back and win this one. I just felt like the Cavaliers played with their food a lot tonight, and again, I couldn't help but wonder if what occurred with the deadline deal to acquire DeAndre Hunter was still, kind of a mental block for the Cavs. But overall, a solid second half performance led to them scoring 134 overall points total. They completed the game by shooting 51.1% from the field and 42.1% from three-point distance. So a terrific showing on the offensive side, just not necessarily what you want on the defensive side, as Washington finished the game shooting 48.9% from the field, 36.4% from three-point range, and they were just astounding on the glass. They won that battle 53-52. And so major props to them. A big reason for them being able to stay in this one, you got to give them his props. Jordan Poole, the former 6th man for the Golden State Warriors, winning a title with them and then securing that large contract and then being moved over to Washington. He dropped 45 points on the Cavaliers tonight. He went 16 of 32, drilled 4 of 17, not necessarily efficient, but efficient from three-point range. But anytime he drove inside, it felt like it was cash money. 45 points from him, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. And despite that huge effort from him, they lost. So it probably sucks to have a performance like that and lose, but props to Jordan Poole for keeping his team in this one as the Cavaliers just absolutely clamped down during the latter stages of the fourth. And you saw numerous performances from the Cavaliers reserves, right? I can't not keep going on in this pod without mentioning the likes of Jaylon Tyson, who is just absolutely phenomenal. Jaylon is not going to wow you from a statistical standpoint most nights. He would finish the night with 7 points, 5 rebounds, 4 of them on the offensive side, and 3 assists, 1 steal, and 2 of 2 from the line, 2 of 2 from the field, and I think 3 of 3 from the line. This guy was absolutely impactful tonight. And as I said, a lot of that production was on the offensive glass where he was generating second chance opportunities for Cleveland. And, he even capitalized on one himself where he went out. I think my favorite sequence of the entire game was him pulling down a rebound off of a Donovan Mitchell missed triple and immediately putting it back up and drawing a foul in the process. And he would pull down another offensive rebound in the game as well. And that is the type of effort you need out of Jaylon Tyson when you don't necessarily have a third big. Because here's the deal. The Cavaliers, with the rebounding woes that occurred in that first half, it was somewhat understandable because the Cavaliers were forced into many 3-guard looks, something you would normally, it's hit and miss depending upon the situation. But they were forced into having to play more 3-guard lineups than you would normally feel comfortable with. And 4, if you consider Jaylon Tyson a guard. I don't, but I've seen him listed as a 2 in a lot of places and a 3 in others. I consider him more of a 3 than anything, but that just speaks volumes about what the Cavaliers were working with tonight, because Tyson was essentially functioning as their third big for large portions of the game. And he came up big on the glass, especially on the offensive glass, with no Dean Wade available and no George Niang, who is no longer on the roster. It's exactly why the Cavaliers, in my opinion, have to bring in another big, or at the very least elevate JT Thor to the main roster, because you can't survive every game with this type of rotation. It's just probably not going to lead to a lot of success against the good teams in the NBA. Tristan Thompson did play a solid chunk of minutes tonight, but you never want to rely upon that being your true third big, right? Still, got to give credit where credit is due. I think that the Washington Wizards absolutely fought in this one. Richaun Holmes was big time for them on the glass. He would finish the game in double digits in that regard. He finished with 12 boards, 12 points. And this was just his second start of the season, if I'm not mistaken. With Alex Sarr out, with Jonas Fee no longer on the team, this was a big time moment for him, and I think he capitalized on his time. So props to him for bringing it to the Cavaliers. I thought that he pulled down a number of contested boards over the likes of Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen at times. So you just see some of the pieces that they have over there. And Richaun Holmes is not a young guy. He's probably not in their long-term plans, obviously, but he added value tonight, and I can only respect the work that they put in, despite being severely overmatched from a talent standpoint. But I like some of the young pieces, man. Coulibaly, George, Carrington. These are all guys coming out of their draft that I was really, really high on. I knew each and every one of them were probably going to end up in a location that would utilize their strengths, and all of them were in the starting lineup tonight. Coulibaly starting, I believe, at the 3, George at the power forward position, and yet Carrington playing the point. So big ups to them. Hopefully all the picks that they got, they'll be able to use, and continuing to add more and more talent to that roster, or make a consolidation trade later on down the line. But they were really, really active this year in bringing in some pieces and becoming somewhat of a salary dumping grounds, right? I think of that when you see guys like Chris Middleton and Marcus Smart being offloaded there, essentially. But I think they're trending in the right direction. They absolutely needed to move off of Kuzma. That had to happen. It's almost surprising that it didn't happen sooner. It's the exact same way that I feel about Cam Johnson. I thought Cam Johnson was going to be moved. I still don't understand why Cam Johnson is a Brooklyn Net, but that's neither here nor there. That's not what we're here to discuss. But this was a solid win. Wasn't always pretty at times. One that the Cavaliers probably wish that they put their foot on the pedal more and instead of letting Washington hang around. But sometimes that's just what happens. If I had to give awards for the game, tonight's MVP, to me, Donovan Mitchell can't not be the MVP after dropping 33 on Washington. The hustle player of the game, that's a new award. Jaylon Tyson. Jaylon Tyson effectively functioned as their third big tonight. And as I said, phenomenal on the rebounds, on the offensive glass. 5 rebounds, 4 of them were offensive rebounds, and that's not necessarily something that you would expect out of a guard or forward his size. And I think that as long as the Cavaliers have him in that role until they get a true third big, I feel confident at times. But I hope that's not the long-term strategy, but clearly he fits in here. And I think by this time next year, he will be a lock for this rotation. He is going to work himself into it. Now, when Dean Wade, Isaac Okoro come back and DeAndre Hunter's out there, Tyson is probably not going to be touching the floor anytime soon, assuming all those guys are healthy. But it helps to know that you can turn to one of your young developing prospects in big time minutes. And that's exactly what Tyson gave you tonight. And I think 20 minutes of play. He was phenomenal in his time out there. And I'm very, very excited about what he brought to the table. So props to Jaylon Tyson tonight and stepping up. Now, time will tell what this Cavaliers team ends up doing to address some of the holes on the roster. They now have 2 roster spots open after the move for DeAndre, since it was a 2-for-1. I do think that they will end up bringing in a buyout candidate. I've already floated out who I feel comfortable with. Not going to keep beating the drum on that. It's Ben Simmons. It's Mo Bamba would be an acceptable addition. Clint Capella, Larry Nance Jr. if he ever gets bought out. These are all names. Daniel Tice. These are all names that I would consider, because the Cavaliers need a third big, or at least somebody who can give you minutes at the 4 or 5. But that's where they are right now. We'll have to see. Time to hop into the chat, shall we? Jay Quest says, yeah, good game, Wizards. They might actually be on the right track. I think that they had to lean into the rebuild. They had to fully lean into the rebuild. And that's exactly what they did upon moving off of Kuzma and securing more picks. So good props to them for that. And they have some really young, talented players there. Hailstone says, credit to Washington. They fought hard. Go Cavs. Absolutely. D. Jackson says, let's go Cavs. Momo says, Poole balled out. Respect. Yeah, I mean, anytime you drop 40 plus, you're basically carrying your squad. And that's what Jordan Poole did. And I don't think it's a stretch to wonder whether or not Poole will end up on a contending team as like a super 6-man, like we have seen him function as with Golden State back in the day. I think that is in his future. I think that's probably what is going to benefit him the most from a career track standpoint, but we'll have to see when that happens. D. Jackson says the Wizards played hard as hell, but they lost. They absolutely did. They're out talented, but they overachieved tonight. And I can't be anything but, happy for them with the direction that they're headed in. Jay Quest says, can't stand him, though. Yeah, he balled out. What are you going to do? Richard Hacker says, Strus took them out. Yeah, you had a number of Cavaliers in that fourth quarter who really, really opened the, just kind of slammed the door shut. Ty Jerome kind of sticks out in particular. Dude is just unfucking believable at times. I think he accounted for, at a certain point, 9 points in the fourth between himself and just getting guys looks, assisting. His alley-oop to Evan Mobley was something to see. And the chemistry that he has developed with the bigs is undeniable. And his command of the offense is probably, or at least in my opinion, it's probably a big reason why Kobe Altman felt comfortable making the move and trading LeVert and Yang for Hunter, because essentially he's going to be dependent upon to inherit that role almost full time now that Karis LeVert had. And for me, I think that Ty Jerome is going to be up to the task come the playoffs, because that's essentially what's going to boil down to. Can Ty Jerome function as your true 6-man assuming DeAndre Hunter is inserted into the starting lineup. If he's not, then DeAndre is very likely your sixth man, because he's already second in the NBA in terms of odds for sixth man a year. But I think Kenny Atkinson will eventually make the switch and make Hunter the full-time starter at the 3. But if he does end up continuing to roll with Strus, I'm not going to be bad as long as Hunter is playing a very high minute role off the bench. But overall, Ty Jerome, knowing that you have that in the stable on the bench, probably made Kobe feel at ease or at peace with moving off of Caris LeVert, who had basically occupied that role for a few seasons for the Cavaliers. So Ty was awesome tonight. Love the chemistry that he has developed with the bigs, especially Evan Mobley. And again, props to Washington for hanging around in this one. Duque Helper says, Mac, will you update the live stream intro video later? Actually, yes, I'm working on that right now. I'm probably going to switch to a variation of the older intro. If you've paid attention over the last couple of live streams, I've actually gone back and forth between the two, but I am working on creating a new one that will include DeAndre Hunter, because I really don't want to create one until I have game film that I can use from Hunter, which I'm hoping, fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed. I got my signals mixed up here. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping that DeAndre Hunter makes his Cavalier debut on Monday against the T-Wolves, but I think we're still waiting on Niang and LeVert to clear their physicals in Atlanta before the deal, before he's able to actually make that debut. I'm not sure if that's happened already, but the last time I checked, they hadn't passed their physicals just yet. But I can't wait for Monday night. I'm expecting Hunter to make his debut, and once I do have film on him in wine and gold, and I have a couple of photos that I can use for the intro, the intro will be rolled out. So at the very least, you can probably expect it to be not on Monday, but the following game after that, on the following stream. Wunakar says, "Sup, P? What's up, man? How you doing?" Momo says, "Win 42, and we gave them loss 42, right?" Yeah, it feels only right. This was an ugly ass win at times, but I'll take it. I mean, you scored 130 plus yet again. Donovan Mitchell went off for 33. You got Evan Mobley, who went 25 plus, if I'm not mistaken. Jaylon Tyson had a big effort tonight on the glass. I love it, man. All 5 starters scored in double figures. You got Garland with 23, Strus with 17. He went 5 of 9 from 3-point range. Good to see him getting back to his sharpshooting ways. Jarrett Allen had his 28th double-double, I think, tonight with 12 and 12. And then Ty Jerome off the bench with 13. Craig Porter Jr., who continues to play an elevated role with 2 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Craig Porter Jr. just does shit every single game that you see him get actual minutes in that leaves you scratching your head wondering, why the fuck is this guy not in the rotation? But then you remember you have Darius, you have Donovan, you have Ty, and you recall why. It's just such a stacked guard room. And it's crazy to think that the Cavaliers have a number of guards that can easily be starters elsewhere, or at the very least playing a high minute role. And Craig Porter Jr. is definitely one of those guys. So props to him for showing out tonight. Mr. King 562 says, we got to rescue Cedi Osman from Greece. I've had the thought that Cedi would probably be a very good player in the Kenny Atkinson system because of the way that the ball moves around. But I don't think we'll ever see Cedi in a Cavalier jersey again. We shall see. T-Money Full 20 says, depth is amazing. Guys will be able to have some rest nights comfortably. And that's a good point, because as we go down the late stretches of the season, the dog days of the 2024-25 season, the Cavaliers will absolutely need rest. They will absolutely need rest, because every single year it seems like somebody gets fucking hurt at the wrong time. All I want to do is enter the postseason completely healthy. I don't want injuries to Dean Wade. I don't want Isaac Okoro missing the bulk of the season, the bulk of the final couple weeks of the season. I don't want DeAndre Hunter to miss time. I want these guys to be healthy. I don't want any injuries in the front court at all with Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. Just want to be healthy. So to know that you have the depth that can kind of give these guys rest minutes, that would be beneficial. And that is why it's crucial, in my opinion, that the Cavaliers sign a third big on the buyout market. You have to bring in somebody that can spell Evan Mobley or Jarrett Allen. Give them some minutes. And I think they will, but time will tell. D Jackson says the AJ Jackson dunk on Mobley was pretty cool. AJ Johnson is a rookie, right? If I'm not mistaken, AJ Johnson is the player that was just brought over in that Kuzma trade. He came alongside Chris Middleton. And if you don't remember, AJ Johnson actually lit the Cavaliers up for a ton of threes earlier on in the season. Maybe my mind is maybe I'm crazy, but no. I think I am. I don't think it was AJ Johnson. I think I'm tripping. But he had a phenomenal player. He had a phenomenal game tonight, or a phenomenal dunk, rather. So that was pretty cool. Dare Evil says Garland's defense was very good tonight. Garland is sneaky good on the defensive end when he wants to be, right? To me, a lot of people in that last stream talking about Ben Simmons. Somebody, thanks, Claw. He says AJ Green on Bucks. That's who I was thinking of, not AJ Johnson. Garland has actually been sneaky good on the defensive end. He's held up very, very well against the likes of Jason Tatum. From a team defense standpoint, I like what DG brings to the table. From a matchup, an individual matchup standpoint, it's very matchup dependent. He can be exploited by taller guards, bigger wings out there, but generally I think he tends to hold his own. He's a guy who's actually been very good at holding up in team defense, but it's very matchup dependent in terms of isolation defense. Mr. King 562 says, do you think we break the franchise wins total this season? I think it's certainly possible. At now they're at what, 42 and 10. What is that? What is the win? 67 or is it 69? I think that they can certainly beat it. I think it's certainly in the in the cards. And don't quote me on that, because it's escaping at the top of my head. But I'm gonna Google it as we're as we're sitting here. I have to find out the most wins we have. 66. That was the 0809 Cavs. So I think that they end up getting that record this year. They need, what is it? My math is correct. 24 more victories to tie that. They would need 25 to beat it. I think it's possible. Do I think it's going to happen? Yes. I think I give it a 60% chance that it happens, a 40% chance that it doesn't. I think that it will happen. But if they have to prioritize health over it, I'll take the health all day. To me, I think that is infinitely more important than making a push for a franchise record in wins. And I think you guys will probably join me in that thought process. And with the way that they played this season, I think it's certainly possible that it happens, but I'm not going to be mad if it doesn't, because as long as they enter the postseason healthy and with that 1 seed, I think that should be the goal. At the end of the day, entering healthy and getting that 1 seed. And as of tonight's victory, if I'm not mistaken, they have a 6-game lead. As far as Bleacher Report is concerned, they have a 6-game lead over the Boston Celtics for the 1 seed in the East. As we know, Boston coming off that loss to the Dallas Mavericks. Who else watched that game, by the way? I loved seeing them take that L. Seeing them take the L to Kyrie Irving and company over in Dallas. That was phenomenal, because Jason Tatum, he just pisses me off so much with the flailing and the pushing off, and to see him actually get called on that for the offensive foul a number of times in that game, that was awesome. So we need them to lose some games, and we need Cleveland to continue to win, so we lock down that number 1 seed. And as long as they get that, I'll be happy, no matter if they beat the franchise win record or not. But that's really all I care about at the end of the day. The All-Star break is coming up. I want everybody to stay healthy, stay upright, and hopefully down the stretch of the season, they're able to do that. Jeremy Dotson says, I love the emotion we've been seeing from our guys. Yes, and to that point, one of the sequences that happened tonight came when I think it was Keyshawn George and Evan Mobley kind of got into it after Evan pulled down an offensive rebound. And then Darius Garland, he kind of got into that dust up because he got up in Keyshawn George's face and started pointing his finger. And you've seen him do stuff like that, starting more and more to show emotion and take up for his guys. And although he got called for an unsportsmanlike conduct call, I loved it. I think it was certainly something that I would like to see more of. It was very similar to me. with the Jarrett Allen basically train that he just rammed. He just rammed. Was it Asor Thompson the other day against Detroit? It was very reminiscent of that. Just seeing guys show emotion out there, get angry, get mad, get up in your face, let you know that we're not going to take any shit. So I think it definitely gave them kind of a spark in that third quarter. And although I think it kind of galvanized Washington too, because they were playing some fiery basketball. They were very, very emotional out there. And you expect that at points as games start to turn into kind of a slugfest and a slog. I think it gave both teams kind of a galvanizing moment, but Cleveland was the one that capitalized the most. So I'll take it. And I absolutely love DG sticking up for this guy in Evan Mobley. Jim Varney, haha, says that George rookie is such a little bitch, and he looks stupid with that fro. whoa, what's up with all the what's up with the hates? I won't go that far, but I'll say this: it was nice to see DG sticking up for Evan. So I'll agree with you on that at the very least. D Jackson asks, Mac, can you please tell me why Kyrie don't play versus the Cavs? He already making excuses not to play. I don't listen. I'm not going to speculate on anything. I think that Kyrie and Cleveland at times have had a contentious relationship since he left. But I mean, I'm not going to be upset about it. I will always be thankful for what Kyrie gave Cleveland, hitting the biggest shot in franchise history, probably the biggest shot in NBA Finals history, in that game 7 against Steph Curry and company. So I'll always be happy for that. But yeah, it is a little odd. Unakahara says, hate seeing Celtics do all the push-offs. They keep getting away with it. I think they've just earned that call. Jason Tatum is a superstar. He gets the call 9 times out of 10, or he gets the lack of the call. They won't call it on. I guess that's probably the better way to put it. But sometimes they will call it on him. And you saw that happen in that Dallas game, which was cool. Mr. King 562 says, Cavs can only lose 6 more games for the rest of the season to tie the franchise record. That's nuts. Now, here's the thing. After the Cavaliers started off the season the way that they did, I think we all thought that season record was within reach. But if you look at the Cavaliers' schedule heading down the stretch, I think it is possible. So I'm just going to name off the games. I'm going to name off the games until the end of the season. So just beat the Wizards. You got to 42. You need 25 more victories to beat that record to get to 67. They have the T-Wolves. They have the Raptors. I think that's a winnable game, and I think that actually represents the potential chance at yet another season sweep, which would be the 7th season sweep of the season, by the way. You got the Knicks. That's a big matchup. Grizzlies, Magic, Boston one more time. You got Trailblazers. I think that's a winnable game. Bulls, I think you can take that W. Miami, I think you're taking that one. Charlotte, Milwaukee, that should be interesting with Kuzma and company now. Brooklyn, you better get that W. Grizzlies again. Orlando, Clippers, Kings, Suns, Jazz, Trailblazers, Spurs, Detroit, Clippers, Knicks, Spurs, Kings, Bulls, Pacers, Knicks, Pacers. So here's the thing. Of all of those games that I just mentioned, I think that they will take some L's. This Cavaliers team is not going to go completely lossless, right? They're going to lose at some point during this stretch of games. And you have 6 that you can spare to tie the record. Is that what it is? They've lost 10 games on this season. They're 42-10. If they lose another 6, that puts them at 42-6. I'm not great at math, guys. I'll be straightforward with you. They need 25 wins to beat the record. They have played, what is it now, 52? So they have 30 left. They can only afford 5 losses then, right? If I'm not mistaken, I think they can only afford 5 more losses. They can tie the record with 6. I think you would only be able to lose 5 more though if your intention is to break that record. But again, that could be off. My math is not great, but to get to 67 and what would that be? 67 and 15. 67 and 15. You would need 25 more wins. So of the games coming up on the schedule, there certainly will be a few L's. I think the next two at the Knicks could be split. I think that you could potentially lose to the Bucks, maybe once Boston. That could be an L. You never truly know, but with DeAndre Hunter in town, I feel ultra confident against them. I don't ever want to call any of these games losses, but I just have to be honest with myself. The Cavaliers will not win all 30 of their next 30 games. It just will not happen. So as long as they don't lose more than 5, they can win that. They can break the record, and time will tell on that. But we still have the entire All-Star break to go, which we just learned today that Darius Garland will be competing in the 3-point competition. That's a pretty big deal. I think that's awesome. Hopefully they will be able to Darius Garland will be able to bring home that trophy. And I think Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell are competing in the skills competition, if I'm not mistaken. So those are some pretty cool things, some pretty big moments for the Cavaliers, with 3 All-Stars this year, just the 4th time in the franchise history that they've managed to do that. I think that's pretty damn dope. And hopefully they come home with some gear, right? Maybe even one of them will be All-Star MVP. That would be cool to see. Wouldn't it be awesome to see Evan Mobley or Darius Garland or some shit, them take home All-Star game MVP? I think that would be dope. And Garland to win the 3-point contest. These would all be cool things. I don't know. I think that's about it for tonight's game. The Cavaliers, again, will be back in action on Monday night against the T-Wolves, as we all hope and speculate that will be DeAndre Hunter's Cleveland Cavalier debut. I think we're all interested in seeing what happens, what comes of that, whether or not he starts or comes off the bench. Completely up to Kenny Atkinson. But with the way that Kenny has structured rotations this year, I don't think it'll matter that much. It won't matter as much. Doesn't matter who starts. It matters more who closes. And I think you guys can probably agree with me there. That said, as always, to you guys, if you'd like to reach out to me, you know how you can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to the It's Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot of said review to itscavalier53@gmail.com. If you're watching over on X, do your boy a favor and hit that like button over on YouTube. Subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber, and hit that notification bell so you know when I'm always going live. Go Cavs. Have a good night.